strange coincidences, unexplainable bad luck, and sudden negative changes in your relationships might not be random events at all, but rather carefully orchestrated attacks from someone practicing witchcraft against you. When these patterns emerge repeatedly in your life, they demand your attention because ignoring them could cost you your peace relationships and even your success. The dark reality is that witchcraft continues to exist in our modern world, though it often hides behind different names and practices. Today, I'm going to reveal 5 unmistakable signs that someone might be using witchcraft against you, signs that most people miss until it's too late. This knowledge will empower you to recognize these attacks early and protect yourself effectively. Before we dive into these crucial signs, I need you to understand that this information could potentially change how you view certain situations and people in your life. That's why it's essential that you don't skip any part of this video if you're short on time. I strongly recommend watching at 1.5 or 2 times speed because the complete context is vital for your protection. Once time is lost, it can never be regained, and the same goes for opportunities to defend yourself from these hidden attacks. Are you ready to discover the 5 telltale signs that someone is doing witchcraft on you? Let's expose these hidden attacks together. When we talk about witchcraft in the modern world, we're not talking about people flying on broomsticks or mixing potions in cauldrons. No, today's witchcraft is much more sneaky, kind of like that one friend who always forgets to pay you back but never forgets when you owe them money. But jokes aside, this is serious business. The first sign someone might be doing witchcraft on you is unexplainable, negative patterns that just don't make sense. We all have bad days. You know, like when you spill coffee on your shirt, miss the bus, and then your boss yells at you, that's just a bad day. But when these things happen week after week, hitting the same areas of your life over and over, that's when your spider senses should tingle. Here's what makes these patterns different from regular bad luck. They attack specific areas of your life that were previously going. Well, maybe you've always been healthy, but suddenly you're sick every other week, or your business was thriving, but now clients are cancelling for the weirdest reasons. Or perhaps your usually happy relationship is now filled with fights that start out of nowhere. The key thing to watch for is the sudden onset of multiple problems all at once. It's like your life was a smooth running car and overnight someone poured sugar in your gas tank, slashed your tyres and stole your steering wheel, all at the same time, when 3 or 4 areas of your life crash simultaneously without any logical explanation. That's not coincidence. That's the first sign of witchcraft. These patterns often manifest in super specific ways. Like you might notice that every time you're about to sign a new client, your computer crashes or your phone dies or your internet cuts out. Or maybe every time you plan a romantic evening, something always ruins it at the last minute. These aren't random events, they're orchestrated attacks designed to block your success and happiness. So how do you tell the difference between regular life challenges and supernatural interference? Regular problems have logical causes and effects. Your car broke down because you didn't change the oil, you got sick because everyone in your office had the flu. But with witchcraft, the timing is just too perfect. The coincidence is too frequent and the explanation's too flimsy. Here's something practical you can do. Start a journal, write down when these strange patterns occur. What was happening in your life right before? Who was involved? What were you about to achieve? Patterns will emerge when you track them. You might discover that these random bad events always happen after interacting with a specific person or when you're about to reach a certain goal. Remember, this is just the first of 5 signs someone is doing witchcraft. On you by itself, it might not be conclusive, but combined with the other signs we're about to discuss, you'll have a much clearer picture, and knowing is half the battle, right? Just like knowing that eating an entire pizza by yourself is a bad idea, but we still do it sometimes. But unlike pizza, regret witchcraft is something you definitely want to identify early. Now, the second sign that someone might be doing witchcraft on you is unusual physical and emotional symptoms that just don't make medical sense. I remember speaking with a woman, let's call her Linda, who had always been energetic and positive. She ran her own business, was the life of every gathering, and rarely even caught a cold. But then something changed. Linda suddenly started experiencing crushing fatigue that knocked her out by 2 p.m. Every day, her doctor ran tests, blood, work, thyroid checks, sleep studies, everything came back normal. Yet she could barely drag herself out of bed most mornings. What struck me most was how she described it. It doesn't feel like normal tiredness. It feels like something is literally draining my energy, like a battery being depleted. Her words still send chills down my spine because they're so common among people experiencing this second sign. These symptoms aren't just physical. Linda also began experiencing emotional changes that scared her friends and family. Random bouts of depression would hit her like waves coming out of nowhere and disappearing. Just as mysteriously, anxiety would grip her throat when entering certain rooms of her house or when around specific people, and most disturbing were the nightmares. Vivid, recurring dreams where she felt paralyzed while shadowy figures moved around her bed. What separates these symptoms from regular health issues is how they resist conventional treatment. Antidepressants don't touch the depression. Sleep aids don't stop the nightmares. Energy drinks and coffee make no dent in the fatigue. It's as if the symptoms aren't coming from within your body, but from an external source throughout history. These unexplainable symptoms have been documented in cases of suspected witchcraft. In 17th century Europe, records describe similar patterns. Today, we see the same symptoms, but dismiss them as just stress or probably nothing, but your body knows better. It's telling you something is wrong. These attacks typically target your most vulnerable areas. If you're an artist, your creativity suddenly vanishes. If you're an athlete, mysterious injuries appear. If you're a social person, crippling social anxiety suddenly develops the witchcraft craft, zeroes in on what makes you uniquely you and attempts to disrupt it. If you're experiencing these symptoms, start documenting them, immediately track when they occur. Their intensity, who you were with and where you were. Look for patterns. Do they worsen after seeing certain people? Do they improve when you're in certain places? This documentation can reveal connections you might otherwise miss. What made Linda finally understand what was happening? Her symptoms would completely disappear when she visited her sister in another state, only to return within hours of coming home. They would intensify after meetings with a jealous colleague. When she finally connected these dots, she was able to take steps to protect herself. These unexplained physical and emotional symptoms are the second major sign that witchcraft might be directed at you. Combined with the first sign of negative patterns, they paint a clearer picture of intentional spiritual attack rather than random misfortune. Stay with me as we explore the third sign, which might be hiding in plain sight in your own home. Now, the third sign someone might be doing witchcraft on you is discovering strange objects or unusual arrangements in your home or workplace. And folks, this one is so fascinating because it's literally the physical evidence of spiritual warfare, like finding the smoking gun at a crime scene. Now, I'm not talking about finding your roommate's weird collection of garden gnomes, though, to be honest, those things have always creeped me out a little. What I'm talking about are objects that are deliberately placed to serve as anchors or conductors for negative energy being directed at you in modern. Witchcraft practitioners often use common, everyday items that won't raise suspicion. A small bundle of herbs tied with a red string, a jar filled with pins, nails or personal items like hair or fingernail clippings, small pouches of powder tucked into corners or underneath furniture coins, or stones arranged in specific patterns, or even perfectly ordinary objects that are just somehow off, like finding all your family photos suddenly turned upside down or faced toward the wall. These objects are typically hidden in places you frequently occupy or pass through doorways, and thresholds are particularly significant. The front door, bedroom door, or even your office entrance. Other common locations include under your bed, inside your mattress, in houseplants above door frames, in basement corners, or even in your car. Personal items are especially powerful targets. Check your clothing, particularly items you wear regularly. Look through your jewelry box, especially for pieces that suddenly make you feel uncomfortable or that you've inexplicably stopped wanting to wear. Even your toothbrush or hairbrush might be tampered with anything that connects directly to your body or energy field. Now here's where I need you to pay extra attention. If you do find something suspicious, do not handle it with bare hands. Seriously, don't touch these things directly. Use gloves or tongs to remove them, and don't bring them close to your face or body. These objects can be charged with negative energy that can transfer to you through direct contact. The connection between physical objects and energetic attachments is real. Think of these items as physical anchors that hold spiritual intentions in place, just like your cell phone captures invisible signals from cell towers. These objects capture and amplify the negative intentions sent your way. What's truly shocking is how innocent-looking these items can be. A small gift from someone you barely know that gives you an uneasy feeling. A peculiar ornament that showed up on your desk with no explanation. Even something as simple as a penny placed heads or tails up in a specific location can be significant. And listen, if you've made it this far into this video, you're clearly serious about protecting yourself and recognizing these signs, and that deserves some respect. If you're finding value in this information, do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button right now. Why? Because we regularly share this kind of vital protective knowledge that you simply won't find in mainstream sources, plus the algorithm will love you for it. And so will I remember identifying this third sign. Strange objects or arrangements is crucial because it provides tangible evidence that someone is intentionally targeting you. Combined with the first two signs we've discussed, you're now equipped with even more knowledge to protect yourself. And knowledge, my friend, is the most powerful protection of all. Now, the fourth sign that someone might be doing witchcraft on you is dramatic and unexplainable. Changes in your social circle and relationships. This sign cuts deep because it strikes at the very heart of what makes us human. Our connections to others. When witchcraft targets your relationships, it doesn't just damage one connection. It often creates a domino effect that can leave you feeling isolated and confused. These aren't normal relationship issues that develop over time. They're sudden, intense changes that seem to come out of nowhere. Think about that friend you've had for years, the one who knew all your secrets and always had your back. Imagine them suddenly becoming cold toward you, cancelling plans repeatedly, or even spreading rumours behind your back. When you try to talk to them about it, they can't explain why they feel different. About you, they just do. Something has shifted, and neither of you can pinpoint exactly what or why. This type of unexplainable hostility from previously friendly people is a classic sign of interference. It's as if someone has planted negative thoughts about you in their minds. Your previously warm relationships suddenly freeze over people who used to smile when they saw you. Now avoid eye contact or find reasons to keep their distance. Even more telling is when miscommunications and misunderstandings multiply without reason. Messages never arrive. Emails get lost. Your words get twisted and repeated back to you in distorted form. You leave a perfectly normal voicemail, but the person who receives it somehow hears something completely different. It's as if they're static in all your communications, scrambling your messages and creating confusion. This pattern of interference typically leads to isolation, one by one. Your support network crumbles, invitations stop coming, group chats go silent when you enter. Eventually, you might find yourself alone, cut off from the very people who could help you recognize what's happening. And that's precisely the point. Isolation makes you vulnerable and easier to control or manipulate. The manipulation of relationships through supernatural means has been documented across cultures and throughout history. In many traditional societies, this was considered one of the most dangerous forms of witchcraft, precisely because it destroys the community bonds that keep us safe and supported. Some of the common tactics used to create division include planting seeds of doubt about your character, stirring up jealousy or competition, reviving old conflicts that had been resolved, or even creating entirely fabricated scenarios that never actually happened, but that people somehow remember experiencing. With you, the emotions this creates are devastating. You might feel a deep sense of betrayal, confusion, or even question your own memory and perception of events. Did your friend really say that hurtful thing about you? Why would they? Did you actually do something wrong that you can't remember? This kind of self-doubt is psychologically damaging and spiritually draining to strengthen your relationships against these negative influences. Remain in open communication as much as possible. Document strange interactions. Trust your instincts about sudden changes in people's behavior toward you when possible. Meet in person rather than relying on electronic communication, as face-to-face interactions are harder to interfere with. Most importantly, remember that people under this kind of influence aren't acting from their true selves. The anger, suspicion, or dislike they're expressing toward you isn't coming from their heart. It's been planted there. When you recognize this, it becomes easier to respond with compassion rather than reactive hurt, which only deepens the divide. This fourth sign, changes in your social circle and relationships, is particularly painful because it attacks our fundamental need for connection combined with the previous three signs. It forms a powerful indicator that something unnatural is influencing your life. As we move to our fifth and final sign, remember that awareness is the first step toward protection. Now, the fifth and final sign that someone might be doing. Witchcraft on you is experiencing intuitive warnings and spiritual disturbances. This sign is perhaps the most subtle, yet potentially the most powerful, because it taps into your own innate protective systems that often recognize threats long before your conscious mind can process them. Take a moment right now to reflect on a time when you had a gut feeling about something, or someone. Maybe you decided not to take a certain route home one night. For no logical reason, only to learn later there had been an incident there. Or perhaps you felt an inexplicable unease about a charming new person. Everyone else seemed to love our intuition. Often speaks to us in these quiet ways, and when it comes to spiritual attacks, these whispers become especially important. What intuitive warnings might you be experiencing? Right now, do you feel a persistent sense of being watched when no one is there? Do you suddenly feel uncomfortable in spaces that used to feel safe? Are there specific people who cause your energy to immediately drain when they enter a room, even though they haven't done anything objectively threatening? These intuitive warnings often manifest physically. Your stomach might tighten around certain people. You might get goosebumps in specific locations of your home for no apparent reason. Your breath might become shallow, or you might feel pressure on your chest in certain situations. These physical responses are your body's alarm system alerting you to dangers your conscious mind hasn't yet processed. Consider your dreams. Lately, have they changed in nature? Recurring nightmares, dreams of being chased or attacked, or dreams where familiar people appear distorted or threatening, can all be your subconscious mind trying to communicate that something is wrong. Your dream state can often detect energy disturbances that your waking mind filters out many people who later confirm they were targets of Witchcraft report, having initially dismissed these intuitive warnings. I thought I was just being paranoid. They often say, but paranoia is generalized fear without specific triggers, while intuitive warnings are specific and consistent. Learning this difference can be life-changing. Changes in your spiritual practices or connection might also occur. If you previously found peace in meditation prayer or other spiritual practices, you might suddenly encounter blocks or disturbances. Your once clear connection feels static. Filled your prayers feel like they're hitting a ceiling. Your meditation is constantly interrupted by intrusive thoughts or uneasiness. These subtle spiritual disturbances are often overlooked because we tend to attribute them to stress, lack of focus, or just having an off day. But when they persist and combine with other signs we've discussed, they become crucial pieces of the puzzle. They're often your first line of defense, early warning systems designed to alert you before serious damage occurs. How can you strengthen these intuitive abilities and spiritual boundaries? Start by simply acknowledging and honoring in your intuitive impressions. Write them down, track patterns. Don't immediately dismiss uncomfortable feelings as irrational. Instead, ask yourself what they might be trying to tell you as you reflect on what we've discussed. Unexplainable negative patterns, unusual physical and emotional symptoms, strange objects or arrangements, changes in your social circle. And now these intuitive warnings, consider how many of these signs might be present in your life right now. One sign alone might not indicate witchcraft, but when multiple signs converge, the picture becomes clearer. Your intuition is a gift, a personal guidance system that helps you navigate both physical and spiritual realms. Rather than fear these intuitive warnings, welcome them as valuable information. They don't make you weak or paranoid. They make you aware and empowered. And awareness is the first and most powerful step toward protection. Now that you understand the 5 signs someone is doing witchcraft on you, you're equipped with knowledge that most people never receive. As said earlier, awareness itself is your first line of defense. Simply recognizing these signs disrupts the power of hidden attacks. When you know what's happening, you can take action instead of remaining a passive victim. Remember that cleansing your space is essential. Salt barriers at entryways, burning sage or Palo Santo, or using sound cleansing with bells can all help clear negative energies from your home. And workplace protection practices are equally important. Carry protective stones like black taline or obsidian. Strengthen your personal energy through regular grounding exercises. Visualize a shield of light surrounding you before entering challenging situations. These aren't just superstitions. They're ancient practices that have helped people protect themselves for centuries after watching this video. You have a choice to make. You can ignore these signs and continue to suffer, pretending everything is normal even as your life spirals downward, or you can take control of your spiritual well-being and reclaim your power. The difference between these choices is literally the difference between being a victim and being a victor. For deeper guidance on protection techniques, the UB algorithm has already selected the perfect next video for you. You'll see it appearing on your screen. Now click on it immediately to continue your protection. Journey, your future self will thank you for taking this crucial next step in securing your spiritual well-being.